Welcome back to Breaking Bet here for this week 4 breakdown on Wednesday, September 25th. We're coming up to the final week of September. It's been a wild month, a lot of upsets, a lot of hearts broken in survivor pools, a lot of favorites that have seemingly just completely fallen off the wagon. And to help me break this down, I got my guy here, Eric Pauly, as always. Starting next week, we're going to be expanding the show to multiple days per week. We're going to be looking to get a Friday segment as well as a Wednesday. And after that, we're going to be looking to add Mondays too as we get into the MLB postseason. But Eric, how you doing, buddy? How was your Sunday?
What's up, Johnny? Sunday was it was a bloodbath in the ones, but I had the Ravens and the Chiefs were two of my favorite bets, and obviously those were 4 p.m. So it was literally a all things considered fun parlays, of course, included as well. Got to track everything in the bankroll. Very, very slight, literally less than a unit on the L column for me. What about you, Johnny?
I had a really good week overall. I did really well on Saturday in college football. Hit a couple parlays. I'm not a college football guy. I'm a casual watcher, and some of my friends are more into the sport than I am, and taking a little bit of advice from them. So I hit for $2,000 on Saturday with college football. And then I had something for about $1,000 on Sunday in the NFL. And nice. those late windows really helped me. It was overall positive week, over 12 units on the card, touchdown parlay, a 4-legger, kind of brought that up to a nice solid, over 10 unit week for me. With Amon-Ra, David Montgomery, Derrick Henry, and Jamar Chase on Monday night. So up over 53 units for the season, mostly because of 2 large touchdown parlays. Week 1 was 43+ unit hit, and obviously this week was the 13+ units. But it counts. So off to a good start this season. I got to say, Eric, personally, week 3 in the NFL might have been one of my best weeks I've had in a while, where just a lot of stuff went my way. You get a few of those every year. It's like the NFL especially, I feel like you get 1 to 3 weeks where you can't buy one. You can't have anything go your way. That was me in week 2. No matter how hard you try, it's like quicksand. The more you try to maneuver, the more you try to do, you just keep sinking further. And then you get about 1 to 3 weeks where I had last week, where it's just everything's going your way. And no matter what happens, it's just gonna fall your way, and you're gonna create some equity and cash some tickets.
Yeah, that was me week 1. I hit 3 first touchdowns in obviously the first 16 games, only betting 6 total. So that was obviously nice. I hit a touchdown parlay also week 1. And this past week, I had too much faith in Deonta Foreman, and he picked up a bunch of the carries in week 2. So I was expecting against that Giants defense him to get a goal line carry. Little do we know, the Browns never get down there, and he killed a 24-1 ticket that I had that would have obviously changed the outcome of this week. And also had another lay with Brenton Strange for Monday night that he was the last leg of another 12-1 that would have came through. So definitely happy overall with how I kind of read those games. It literally comes down to combinations. And when it comes to against the spread, as you know, Johnny, it is a random event. These lines are sharp as hell. You're obviously handicapping a side and riding with said side, but based on how efficient these numbers are, a lot of the times it really is a coin flip style situation.
Let me ask you though, have you found these lines to be that sharp, or I should say sharper, as sharp as usual in years past? Personally, I found a lot of these lines aren't necessarily sharp to the point where it was in previous years. And that's not to say there won't be an adjustment, because I think in any sport, the first, for football, the first 4 to 6 weeks, it's a big player advantage. If you're looking to take the underdogs and take some chances, take the points, or hit a money line on a big 6.5 point underdog in the MLB, it's the first month. What's your take on that?
Yeah, no, there's definitely a discovery phase for the market. And like you said, I think it's not necessarily advantageous to the players. it's advantageous to players that have an edge. Like if you are better at rating these early season teams and your priors on which teams are good and which teams are bad are correct, and you bet into said priors, yeah, you could have a great week, a great couple of weeks to start the season. But like you mentioned, Johnny, as time goes on, data is accumulated, these lines get sharper. The power ratings of teams do get adjusted, and that's why you often see, teams who come out hot against the spread still end up being around 500, a little better than 500 at the end of the season, as the markets adjust to who is overperforming expectation, who's underperforming, who's real, who's not real. And then, of course, you have the injuries in the NFL. And then lastly, you have, of course, like travel scenarios and, primetime short rest to, really get these numbers going. But as somebody myself who makes my own numbers every week, this week, I do have a lot of numbers that are just really off market. But with that being said, yeah, I still respect the market and I'm not blindly betting into a number that I have to be completely off. Because let's be realistic here. Yes, in week 4, there's a better chance that I'm correct. But long term, yeah, you got to respect the market.
Yeah, agreed. And let's take a look at what those are going to be for week 4. Eric, before we dive in game by game, give me your best look for week 4.
Yeah, it's going to be a teaser for the end of the show, not like a 6-point teaser. Like I'm just gonna give the play now, but I'll dive into the rationale later. I'm on the Buffalo Bills on the money line.
Very good, very good. I think for me, honestly, I'm looking at I want to join you on Buffalo, but I want to give somebody else a chance. I really do like Houston -6.5 at home. And we're going to get into that a little bit later, why I'm feeling Houston and you're feeling Buffalo this week. But let's start off with Thursday night. We got the Dallas Cowboys trending around a 5.5, 6-point favorite at the Giants. It's not the New York Giants. It's the New Jersey Giants because they play in East Rutherford, New Jersey. You have to cross the bridge if you live in New York to Jersey to watch them play. Okay. Let's talk about this for a minute. The Dallas Cowboys, the both of us, predicted we're going to miss the playoffs coming into the year. Neither of us like them. The roster is extremely, extremely top-heavy. Their secondary is filled with gigantic holes with the Deron Bland injury, Trayvon Diggs coming back. Outside of like DeMarcus Lawrence and Micah Parsons, the defense is very weak. The offense is not that great. The line's not as good as it used to be. CeeDee Lamb is pretty much their only primary threat. Ferguson's okay. The running back room is not stellar. Do you think they should be laying near touchdown even at the Giants?
So numbers wise, and again, I'm not married to my numbers because I obviously, again, trust the market, etc. Though I do, make my numbers because I find value in certain spots. And I think this game's 6. So I missed the early move. This opened, I think look ahead was like 7. Then the Cowboys lose, Giants win. It opened at 4. And then I saw early yesterday, like probably around like 9 a.m. I could obviously check the times, but that's when we saw some steam come in on the Dallas Cowboys to bring this number from 4 to 5. This was on yesterday around 11 a.m. At circa around 12:45. Then it really made a big boom. And for the next 30 minutes, that number was fluctuating. And I agree with the move in favor of the Cowboys. Like the Browns might be like a bottom 5 team in football. So beating up on Deshaun Watson and the Browns for the Giants, like, yeah, obviously for a team that's expected to be worse than what the Browns were, it looks like it's a really great W. But considering what the Browns truly are, I don't know if it's really that encouraging to bring this line from 7 to 4 to now 5.5, which I think is more fair. Like 6 is fair. I make the number 6, so that's fair. I think that the Cowboys are still been able to get pressure regardless of their inability to stop the run. The Giants' offensive line with Devin Singletary, I don't anticipate to be able to get the run started. And that Cowboys' defensive line pressuring Daniel Jones is gonna hurt them. And the like you said, the Cowboys are a top-heavy team, but the Giants don't have anybody to slow down CeeDee Lamb. So I lean the Cowboys to cover the spread. I do. I think it's another Dallas spot for the misery from the Giants against Dallas. I think Dallas continues to beat them up.
Yeah, I agree. If I'm playing a side here, it's going to be Dallas. You can get the 5.5 at FanDuel, and you get the 6 at DraftKings. What it comes down to is Dallas got embarrassed last week. They they almost came back. Baltimore almost choked it away. That's what the Ravens do in the fourth quarter is choke away leads. And Dallas showed a lot of heart to fight back down 4 scores and almost pull this one out. But the thing is, I think we're going to see some regression to the mean here. The Giants, credit to them, they went into Cleveland. They were able to move the ball on, honestly, what is still probably one of the better defenses in football in Cleveland. I think Cleveland is obviously a defensive team first. The offense has been the big problem for them. But, the Giants were able to recover from that fumbled kickoff and then first play touchdown Amari Cooper. But again, it's a regression to the mean. The Giants should come down. Dallas should go up. I do expect Dallas, if they're going to try and turn this thing around after getting blown out at home against New Orleans. And I mean, we're getting blown out most of the game at home against the Ravens. This is the week to turn it around. Understandable, it's a short week and short rest on the road, but it's a spot where they've historically had success and they are the better team. They're the better roster. So I think I'm with you here that this should be a game where they get right. They get themselves back into neutral and, kind of put themselves ready to go into October on a strong note. Eric, I have to bring this up because I've been seeing this up a lot over the last few weeks. There have been certain people who talk about betting stuff, not necessarily as handicappers. There's been a lot of people that have brought up this 5.5 spot. I know. I brought the Royal Mint, the road dog closing at 5 or 5.5 to this betting industry. I've been talking about it for years. I've been publishing articles on it. In my time at NBC, every podcast I bring it up, every guest spot. Now everybody's trying to take this crown from me. This is the road dog getting exactly 5 or 5.5. Now, they're not necessarily saying it like that, but they're bringing up the 5.5. This is not a Royal Mint spot because the Giants are the home dog. But I just wanted to throw that out there because, I feel like this has kind of been getting swag jacked, and I can't allow that to happen on my precious Royal Mint. You know why I named it that? Because it's like printing money. Carolina Panthers were a Royal Mint spot, and you saw what they did.
I'm not going to lie, John. I did see a few outlets, referencing the 5.5s this past week, like you were mentioning. I noticed it as well.
And everybody would know that the Royal Mint creator is the first thing you see on my Twitter bio. So just wanted to put that out there. This was something that was really bothering me. I feel like I had to get it off my chest. But now that we have, let's move to the team that was probably one of the most exciting games of the entire season. I'm talking about you, Carolina Panthers. Speaking of the Royal Mint, were a prime Royal Mint spot last week at Vegas, and they blew them out. Andy Dalton coming back from the dead, the red rifle, slinging it. Only quarterback in football this year to have 300 yards and 3 tutties in one game. Now, the question is, in the revenge spot for Dalton playing the team that drafted him, the team that he took to the playoffs a decade ago, do you think Carolina can do it again against a Cincinnati team that's 0-3 and flailing and a defense that just got lit up on Monday night against Jaden Daniels in Washington?
Yeah, well, this number got bet from 4.5 down to 3.5 actually out there, and mostly 4s as well. I bet Carolina minus 4.5, looking like I have a bad number. Obviously, I said I'm a big market respecter, but with that being said, CLV has done me shit so far this season, so I'm not even like that pissed off about this line moving against me. But no, I'm on the Bengals. I know that the defense was horrible, but what Jaden Daniels in Washington was doing was really just like going to be tough to stop regardless. Joe Burrow put on one of the best games he's had his entire career. It's what overshadowed by the brilliance of Daniels and the plays that he made down the stretch. Yeah, the Bengals defense is concerning. They play soft coverage. They don't get a ton of pressure. And, Washington clearly had them figured out here. And you have the revenge narrative, the whole Andy Dalton, etc. But this to me is just a massive reaction. I downgraded Cincinnati a ton after this past week, and I upgraded Carolina a relatively good amount because you're going from literally the worst quarterback in the NFL to probably like the 25th to 23rd best quarterback, and that gap is ridiculously massive. And I upgraded them, to what I thought was a worthwhile number, and I still make this Cincinnati -5, excuse me. So I saw value in the 4.5. I bet the 4.5, and I just don't think that this is a situation where the Bengals are in do or die mode. The offense clearly is not broken. They played really well. The Carolina Panthers defense, yeah, they shut down the Raiders. I'm not gonna be so enamored by that. I'm in on the Bengals in this spot. What about you, Johnny?
I mean, I think everybody's going to be on the Bengals here because, like you said, it's do or die for them. They're 0-3. They lost a game at home on Monday night as a 7.5-point favorite that they were pegged to win and win convincingly. Like you said, Joe Burrow and the offense, they were okay. I mean, they put up almost a 30 bean, but, they weren't clean, dude. They missed a lot of opportunities in the red zone. They settled for field goals. Evan McPherson missed a field goal. Maybe they were on the wrong side of another pass interference, the 2-point conversion. But the thing is, their defense has still not been great. And Andy Dalton is a guy I think can move the ball. I'm not saying Cincinnati loses this game, but Carolina getting 4.5 here. And, I'm not trying to overreact, but another facet that I'm trying to test out in a theory is teams that play on Monday night. How do they do the following week? You saw the Niners win on Monday night in week 1. They go to Minnesota and lose outright. The Jets get blown out on that Monday night game, and they go to Tennessee and have a dogfight with the Titans. Then last week, the Eagles won on that Monday night, lost on that Monday night game against the Falcons, and they have a dogfight with New Orleans. Really, one big Saquon Barkley run turned the whole game. It was tight for most of it, and then Atlanta wins and they lose against the Chiefs. So we've seen pretty much every team that's played on Monday night has not played well the next week, even if they've won. So this is the theory I'm trying to test out early in the year, see if I can catch something in terms of a value spot. I would say right now I'm going to sit tight and wait. I want to see if Sunday morning we're going to get some steam on Cincinnati, where people are starting to feel the Bengals odd, like it's a spot they can't lose. They're not going to lose. And maybe we see a 6 pop out. And then I would bet Carolina.
Yeah, 6 is a very attractive number. It's where the market's gone. I'm not going to say it's impossible, but it's unlikely. But when it comes down to the Panthers, like losing Adam Thielen is huge. Like you had 2 reliable pass catchers, now you're down to 1. Deontay Johnson is a very good football player, and yes, this Bengals defense and secondary is not great, but I suspect that they could keep him in check as that's their serious threat. And they're probably going to run the ball a lot. This Bengals defense on the ground has been atrocious also. We saw them do decently against Washington, though. Obviously, in the air, Daniels had a ton of success. But this is a stat from TA Analytics. Home favorites who lose outright on Monday Night Football are 58%, 30 and 22 against the spread since 2000. So essentially what that's bringing up is that a team that's expected to win on Monday, that then the market's probably a little bit lower on, add in that short week time, has then done well the next week since the year 2000. And that's a spot where, again, like we're talking about a Panthers team that I upgraded from being the worst team in football to now actually being like the 4th worst team in football. So you can imagine how, you have to go through a couple of tiers to get up that high. And they're still, to me, 5-point favorites. And that's downgrading the Bengals to below a league average team. Like I truly believe they are. And I still get to this number at over 5 and at 5.4. So I took the Bengals. I have a bad number as it stands. Time shall tell. But I'm rocking with Joe Burrow and co to bounce back and cover.
We'll see. I'm going to need a little bit more time. I want to see some market movement here before I make a final decision, just because I think there's going to be something going on with this game. Like a lot of these underdogs, these 1 o'clock windows, dude, have been full of surprises. And it's not to say the Bengals can't or won't win, but covering 4.5, it sounds good, right? It sounds like they should, but like, who thought Denver was going to go not only cover the 6.5 at Tampa? I mean, I saw a few people, but win outright, but then blow them out. Speaking of the Denver Broncos, Eric, they are 7.5-point favorites on the road again, but this time they're up in my neck of the woods. They're at the Jets with a low total of 39.5. I got to be honest, man. I know the Jets had an extra week, and I'm not trying to buy high on Denver right now, but I think this is an opportunity here for, the Broncos maybe to keep this thing close. I think it's honestly, though, my best look is probably going to be the under 39.5. I think there's going to be a lot of unders in games the Broncos play in. The thing is, Patrick Surtain's probably going to see a lot of Garrett Wilson, which means it's going to be Lazard and Conklin. And on the flip side, the Jets defense should really slow down this Broncos offense. So I think that the under 39.5 is probably going to be my best look here. But the 7.5, that's a big number.
It's what I make the game. I make it 7-4-5. So I guess I'd slightly lean Denver, but I can absolutely see the New York Jets team beating this Broncos team by 10. Johnny, coming into the season, I was low on the Jets. I'm slower to give them their flowers. I think Salah's one of the worst, if not the worst, coaches in football. Obviously, this defense is missing key players, is not as good as it was in terms of generating pass rush. Like, yeah, you shut down the Patriots. Like, you don't get credit for shutting down the New England Patriots. I'm sorry. Like, that's not showing me that this defense is good. I think this defense still is a little bit above league average, which is what you could ask for, but it's not this top 5, 7, 10 unit people thought it would be. But I know like Bo Nix is just bad. Like, this Tampa defense was it sounds like hindsight, and it is, and I hate to say it this way, but like, you could kind of see that the stinker was on their radar. Like, their cornerback room was overplaying its expectations. Sean Payton's obviously still a great coach despite the limited options he has available for him in Denver. But Aaron Rodgers historically is good as a home big favorite. This Broncos team is, again, arguably the second worst team in football, and even with my ratings, again, considering the Jets not being great, 7.5 is probably fair according to my numbers, and Jets in a teaser like all day long for me. I don't see another fluky scenario. Survivor, if you have not used the Jets, I would take a look at the Jets. I haven't looked enough at future value, so don't fully quote me on that. I will do a full Survivor breakdown, but I think the Jets handle the Broncos no problem. And this is, again, coming from a not Jets lover, so like, don't think I'm slurping a little bit. Like, no.
All right, we got it's just a lot of low totals so far. Not very good football, I would say, through the first 3 weeks. Very, very subpar football we've seen. New Orleans Saints at Atlanta, 2.5-point favorite is the Falcons with a 42.5-point total. Eric, there are some injuries on New Orleans. We're gonna wait to see what the story is with Alvin Kamara. First look is definitely, again, it's going to be an under 42.5. I think a lot of the plays on this board, first look, I'm leaning under, because I think out of whatever it is, 10 early game windows, 1 o'clock windows, I could see at least 6 of them go under. But I lean Atlanta here. I think Atlanta, their red zone defense has been fantastic. They've shut down the Eagles. They shut down the Chiefs in the red zone for the most part. Listen, I think at some point the Falcons offense is going to pick it up a little bit. Kirk Cousins has played well in spurts. And I think just because of the injury last year and new offense and new players he's playing with and all this stuff, it's going to take him a little bit to get it up. But now, week 4, New Orleans, rivalry week. They're rocking the throwbacks this week. There's a matchup advantage here. I think the Saints defense as well had been overperforming a little bit. I don't think it's as good as it's currently being looked at. I'd side with the Dirty Birds.
So, Johnny, obviously, I know you're unbiased fandom as it comes to the Falcons, and I think you can agree with me. And obviously, correct me if you don't, but I think the last 2 weeks we've seen glimpses of what people expected this team could be this year in terms of a complete team. What are your thoughts on that? Have you seen those glimpses? Obviously, I'm not asking if you're buying them yet. Have you even seen some glimpses of like what people were expecting from this team? Because this team, again, expected to win 9.5 games this year.
I've seen the potential for glimpses. The potential. I haven't on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being a fully complete team, like Super Bowl complete team, I would say Atlanta right now is probably around a 5.5. And the reason why I'm giving them that high is because their defense has played very well. But I'd probably give them somewhere between a 5.5 and a 6.
Okay. And I think that's fair. And I think what we've seen from Atlanta's defense that, gives us a little bit of hope is that they're just not allowing big plays. They're third in average depth of target. They're second in explosive pass percentage. They're second in middle of the field attempt percentage on defense in passing situations. So they're doing their best to not get burned over the top. But the problem with the Falcons, which has been their problem for the last couple of years, which is they don't pass rush. They don't get pressure on opposing quarterbacks. They don't make life difficult for the opposition. And, it's great that they're, trying so hard to take away these big explosive plays because teams who, generate explosive plays generally win those games. The Falcons are not allowing those, but they're also not creating pressure. I think the Eric McCoy injury is huge. Obviously, we have to really consider what's happening with Albert Kamara, Cesar Luis, Taysom Hill, Kalen Saunders on the defensive line. So those are going to be things to look at. But if the Falcons can't get pressure, Kirk Cousins, I think, is going to be able to do what he's done so far this season. Like, the Eagles did not get a ton of pressure on him. They only had 14 total pressures going to PFF. But when they get quick pressure on Derek Carr, that's when he is that automatic shutdown. Like, he stinks. Like, he's throwing a pick or he's just checking down or throwing a bad ball, kind of Derek Carr. The Falcons don't have the team to make him do that. I think I lean toward the under here mostly. And I think that this is going to be a game where both of these teams are just kind of locked in, moving the ball, settling for field goals. And I do make this game, but the Saints actually favored it. So I'm well off market here. I have adjusted for injuries. Not fully, of course, because we don't know if Ruiz and Kamara playing. That'd be another adjustment coming. But I think this is the case where my numbers are off. If you're gun to heading me, Saints are winning this game. But I actually think the under is where I'm looking at for this one.
Yeah, I like the under. That was like one of the things that I think sticks out to me more than the Falcons. I think this is going to be a 2017 type of game. Atlanta's offense hasn't really been scoring that much. New Orleans obviously put up a couple 40 beans, but they're playing probably the best defense they faced thus far. I mean, kind of throw it in with Philly, however you like, but you saw what happened. I honestly think what they did, the game like Philly on Sunday, is going to be very similar to this game. Down and dirty, a lot of 3-and-outs, a lot of punts, field position, flip the field, all that stuff. So I think, definitely the under at 42.5 is probably the strongest look in this game, at least from my perspective. But I do think Atlanta right now is a side inside of 3 that I would be going with at home. Green Bay Packers, another 2.5 home team, hosting the Minnesota Vikings. Low total of 43.5. And, let's give Green Bay, man, a lot of credit. Green Bay, a lot of people, including myself, thought they were in deep trouble when they lose Jordan Love after week 1. Malik Willis answering the bell, 2-0 as the starter. He's getting the job done. Captain of the ship, letting his defense go to work, letting his run game go to work. His pass catchers, little yak daddies they are, let them roll. On the flip side, you got Minnesota, man. I mean, I'm going to say, we talked about this, Minnesota being a bad team this year, finishing dead last in the NFC North. Battling with Chicago, maybe Green Bay, and it's going to be Minnesota. And we had Detroit kind of, making sure that they were going to win 11 games, take the division. Sam Darnold has shown what Brock Purdy proved last year. If you are in a good system, you can be very good. But I don't think it's just that. It's the Vikings defense that's been standing out, shutting down the Niners offense, shutting down the Texans offense. Brian Flores is running an unreal system here. This is a tough game for me, but I lean the under. I think right now is my best play at 43.5.
I'm praying a 3 comes up with or without Jordan Love. I could take the Vikings. Vikings plus 2.5 teaser leg. Like I mentioned with the Jets, absolutely love it. You get good prices on 3-team teasers. Jets, Bills, Vikings teaser, or just any combination of those games. I love. Like you mentioned, I think it's very important to mention is it's not even the offense that has me like, oh, I'm so excited for these Vikings. Like we knew that Kevin O'Connell was a good play caller. We knew Justin Jefferson is a top 2 receiver in football. We knew that they had a great offensive line. We knew Aaron Jones is a versatile back. He's been hurt, but we knew Jordan Addison has some skills, and we knew that like Hawkinson when he's back would have some skills. So we knew this offense was going to click. We knew this defense was going to be solid because Flores was great last year, and it's picked up right away. Like this team has good football players on it. It's not like an unsung team of like a cast of write-offs, etc. that just are somehow playing amazing. Like no, they have some good football players on this team, and I think that the Vikings could definitely give Malik Willis and co problems or Jordan Love and co problems. Like Jordan Love is not going to be fully healthy if he's playing. He's coming off an injury just a couple of weeks ago. And as I've mentioned, and you obviously know this, Johnny, I've mentioned being downish on Jordan Love and not being totally in love with him. Definitely not ready to say he's this great quarterback. Like he definitely has flaws. And if it's Malik Willis, like I don't expect Brian Flores to not be able to make a game plan like a Gus Bradley, who is a terrible DC for the Colts. So I'm not shocked he couldn't make a game plan. And then last week with the Titans, DC, like, it was clearly just a mismatch. They knew what they were going to do, and they still did it on him. You're not going to do that to the Vikings. So I think we could see the Malik Willis be expected if he plays. I think we see Jordan Love, who's, really just decent, just be decent. And I think the Viking getting points here. I make this game Vikings, again, minus points. So I'm very off market, but I'm more convicted in this one. If this gets to 3, give me the 3 and Vikings and teasers all day long.
I like the look. I think, Minnesota, a little dangerous here, even with Sam Darnold as their quarterback. Balanced team for sure right now. All right. We're going to motor through these. Jacksonville, Texans 6.5. Typically, I didn't want to lay this big of a number right now with the Houston team that looked bad. But at the end of the day, I'm taking them because it's not just Jacksonville's bad. You could be a bad team and come up at any point. Jacksonville on Monday night looked like they quit. It looked like the effort's gone. It looked like they're done with Doug Peterson, their defensive coordinator, everybody. I think Trevor Lawrence is lost. I don't think they're going to miraculously turn it around on a short week at Houston, who's a much better team. Point blank. I don't think Houston's great. Coming into the season, I said I didn't buy the Houston Super Bowl preseason hype. I thought they had a lot of potential, but I think they weren't going to be as good as everybody thought so far. That's kind of proven me true. I think the Texans cannot afford to lose this one. They need to blow them out, make a statement, get some momentum going. Jacksonville, I think they're cooked.
I see why you say that, and I can't say I disagree that it's very possible they're just cooked. But I show clear value on Jacksonville, and I like the Jags to cover. This went from 6.5 to 7. Obviously, at 7, it was much more appealing because you get that key number. 6.5, based on my numbers, is actually still okay. The same reasons why you're out on Jacksonville is the same reasons why I'm in. Like, I believe this team could, like you're saying, this team is defeated. They don't play hard for Doug Peterson. They're clearly pissed off. They clearly are not even that talented of a team in the first place. Hence, this team sucks. I think those things could be true, but if they're not true, this is literally the one time for Doug Peterson to show it's not true, because if he loses this game, he's getting fired in the next couple of weeks, maybe even after this game, depending on the severity of the loss that they possibly suffer at the hands of the Texans. And Houston, I sung their praises all summer long. This is the team I'm ready to back off on, not because they got embarrassed by a Vikings team that's clearly better than them and clearly a very good team. So no, this is not a overreaction. They basically played in line with the market in the first game against the Colts. They Then didn't cover against the Bears, though they should have won that by an alternate spread because they fumbled late in that game, which put that to a no cover. And then they lose outright as a road favorite. 7 points is so many in a divisional game with teams that know each other well. I know it's like Trevor Lawrence stinks and Doug Pearson stinks. Like, fire them all. They stink. I downgraded Jacksonville to one of my worst teams in football in the bottom. 26th in football. Like, that's how I view Jacksonville. I don't view Jacksonville highly, but I don't think the Texans currently warrant being 7-point favorites over anybody. So at 7, I love Jacksonville. If you get a 7 minus 120 somewhere, I would play it.
I like that we're on opposite sides a lot of the time. So
I like it as well. It's interesting. I love your perspective, and it's nice to see what I'm missing because it's also just another point when it comes to handicapping in general. I know a lot of people, games, you'll have 2 sharp people on different sides of a game. Obviously, one person will win. Maybe that time it's by a big margin, and people will be like, how are you on different sides of a game viewing, you're both 2 smart people. Like, how are you viewing the same game differently? I think that was just a great example of how we're literally using the same exact angles to handicap this game, but coming to different conclusions about the same thing. So I think that's just another point. Like, this shit is sharp. There's a reason why, there's a public and a sharp side. And in games like this or like others, like, you can make cases certainly for both sides of the coin. And that's just why, like, this is not an easy thing that we do, handicapping games, Johnny.
It's easy. Anybody could really do it.
Yep.
All right. Okay, let's try and pick it up. We got Steelers short favorite at the Colts. I don't buy the Colts just yet. I think Anthony Richardson has a lot more development to do. The Steelers offense is obviously still in the works, but their defense is great. And they've looked the part. Again, as I'm going to do with Pittsburgh a lot this year, I'm going to take the under in this game, and I like the Steelers on the money line and the cover.
I kind of like the over, and I kind of like the Colts. I just think that the Steelers defense has not been tested. I think that they do have like the potential to be as good as advertised, but they have not passed the play a good team test. Anthony Richardson has shown great skills, but nothing put together whatsoever. Clearly still a raw project. Colts offense is still moving the ball really well. This will be like the best moving offense the Steelers have faced so far. So they could propel us to points. The Gus Bradley defense is horrible. The Steelers should be able to move the ball even on the ground for big plays. And I think that the Colts number is fair here. So I make the game Pittsburgh -2. The market liked it. But if I had, like, this is gun to head picks or anything I love, but Colts in a teaser I like, Colts outright I like, and I lean toward the over.
Okay. Rams, Bears. I don't really like anything just yet. I need to see some injury reports come out. I'm waiting on Chicago, to kind of wake up. But to be honest with you, I think Caleb Williams is not the only problem. I think the offensive coordinator, Shane Waldron's, his play calls are atrocious. The defense is championship level, no question about it. And I think the Rams kind of stepped up and took it. /Niners gave it away. Probably another low score for me here at 40.5. A lot of unders this week. No play otherwise on a side here.
Yeah, I don't love this game either. I think the Bears will be able to move it on the Rams, and I think if it's like if you can't move it on this Rams team, like you're broken. Most indications are pointing to the Bears offense being broken, so it could be that simple. But this could be finally like a Caleb looks good kind of spot, and I lean the Rams at 3.5 because obviously you're getting that hook. But I could see. I'm looking at the wrong week. It's 2.5, but no, I think it's in line. And Williams could have success. Doesn't have success this week, then it's like not time to set any panic alarms or anything even close to that. But then it's like, okay, like you got to show us something, buddy.
Yeah. Eagles, Tampa. They were able to handle Philly last year. They ran the ball right down their throats. I can't make a prediction here. It's a 1.5 point spread. There's a lot of key injuries that we don't know about. Devontae Smith, Arthur Brown, Vita Vea on defense for Tampa, Antoine Winfield. Yeah. So there's a lot of injuries. I can't make any true handicap until I know some of the status of those guys. Offhand, say all of them were out. I'd still probably lean Tampa only because I feel like the Bucs off a really bad loss last week and they're at home. They should be able to move the ball against this Eagles defense. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Bucky Irving's really coming on strong. I would lean Tampa, but like I said, I can't make anything official until I get a better idea of the injury report.
Same here. If everyone's clean, it's Philly, and if they're out, I'm just not touching. I see the Buccaneers love the Eagles need Lane Johnson. If they don't have Devonta Smith, they're literally throwing the ball to nobody, and the Buccaneers can take advantage of that. But if you're giving me Lane Johnson, Devonta Smith in that lineup, then I'm more confident in the Eagles. They're the better football team, and I don't believe that the Buccaneers' first 2 weeks were really indicative of like, oh, this is a great team. I think we saw last week that this team is just has as much issues as a lot of teams truly do.
Yeah. First 10.5 point to first double-digit spread this year. Patriots on the road at the 49ers, 10.5. San Francisco lost their last 2 games. Remember last year they went to the Super Bowl, but they had a 3-week stretch where they lost all 3 games. Another low total here at 40.5. Nothing official just yet, but it looks like San Francisco is going to be limited yet again. No Debo, no George Kittle, McCaffrey still out. So it's pretty much Ayuk and Juwan Jennings running in 2-man sets. That being said, I think the Patriots are finally coming to crash back down to earth. 10.5 is a big number, but nothing official for me here. But I would lean San Francisco just because I think we saw how bad the Patriots are on Thursday night.
Yeah, I've been saying it from the top shelf all summer long. The Patriots are the worst team in football. I actually bet them to have the worst record, 7-1. Obviously knowing that they were playing this game too. Like I think I'm going to get value literally after Sunday when they lose to the Niners. They do have a relatively manageable schedule, the Patriots, but again, I'm betting on this team that had powered as the worst team to be the worst team. Still do make this game in favor of the Patriots. I have it at 8.25 or 8.55. So seeing value on New England, but I'm not betting on. I do bet teams. I mean numbers, not teams. But I'm not running on the counter to bet on Jacoby Brissett, even after a short rest and even with the injuries on the Niners.
Yeah, one of the best games of the week, I think, in my humble opinion, the Washington Commanders catching 3.5 at Arizona. One of, if not the highest total of the week at 50.5. I haven't been able to form an opinion just yet. I haven't been able to form an opinion here, Eric. Why don't you start?
Yeah, so, I mean, I'm a Commanders fan. Obviously, I was great to see Jaden. I had high expectations for Jaden all summer long. Everything I was reading in camp, everything I saw on film the first 2 weeks, I was not surprised whatsoever by the breakout, and it was great to see. But this is going to be interesting because these two teams, they really like to score touchdowns. They're 2 horrible defenses and 2 really good offenses. I have Washington plus 3.5 as a worthwhile bet. And this is going to sound maybe a little like wonky, but I don't think 3 points are going to matter here because, again, I think you're going for touchdowns. These are teams that are going to be going for touchdowns, and that's going to lead to this game being 6, 7, or 8 based on 2-point conversions rather than, the Cardinals attempting a 55-yarder. Like Washington literally doesn't trust their kicker to kick a 50-plus yarder. So they're going to go for it on, say, 4th and 5 around the midfield line. And if they get it, they're going to roll. If not, they're going to give that Arizona a short field, and this Washington defense can't cover anybody. So long story short, I do have value on Washington at plus 3.5. I would honestly take the money line over the 3.5 because, yeah, you have that key number taken. But considering how I expect this game to go in terms of scoring volumes of touchdowns, I think that it's going to end up being a 4 to 8 point game because teams aren't going to be selling for field goals here. They're going to be going for it on offense.
I need a little bit more time here. Probably need a couple more days, but I'm going to tell you right now, man. I think we talked about this a lot. Jane Daniels was both of our suggestions for offensive rookie of the year over Caleb Williams at like the 650 to 1 mark. I actually just took a Jaden Daniels sprinkle on MVP at 111 to 1, or 100 to 1, 111 to 1 for this reason. Highly likely he won't win. But the fact is, Washington has a lot of winnable games on their schedule. If this Washington team can win 10 games and Jane Daniels can be pushing 35 total touchdowns and, 4,200 total yards. Stranger things have happened. You look at the quarterback play in the NFL this year, other than Josh Allen, nobody's really impressed. So, I think there's a scenario where, a very unlikely scenario, that could happen. But, that being said, the Commanders have to win these kind of 50-50 games like the Cardinals. But, I'm impressed with Jaden Daniels, bro. And, maybe I might take that 3.5, although I typically tend to lay the 3.5s because I feel like a lot of people like getting the 3 and a hook. And I usually find that the 3.5 is more valuable to lay. Most of the time when I lay it, it usually comes home. I think for the most part, all of those I've hit this year, except for maybe Miami against Jacksonville.
No, and I see it. And again, like I think it's going to come to where if you like Arizona, like you lay the 3.5, you don't obviously you wait for the 3 just because that's what you should do. But if you don't get a 3, you like a 3.5, I think you lay it because this is a touchdown scoring game, in my opinion.
Yep. All right. Cleveland Raiders, absolute pass. Nothing for me.
I show value on the Browns, but I'm not betting on Deshaun Watson. Like I'm just not. I'd rather not add a winner to my card than bet on Deshaun Watson. Similar situation to the Jaguars with Doug Pearson here with Antonio Pierce. Like if you don't see the Raiders' best effort on this one, I don't know. Like if they have a better effort that they could potentially put out. They have shown some competency more so than the Browns. Like, yeah, they look competent against the Jaguars, but still that was a coin flip game. The Raiders have shown competency on offensive defense, but clearly there's like effort problems, etc. here. So if the Browns get pressure on Watson, which they should with Teller out, Jedrick Wills kind of stinking and missing another tackle, then yeah, the Raiders can make life really difficult for the Browns. Like you said, I'd rather just not bet this game, and I'd rather pretend this game doesn't even exist.
Kansas City giving 7.5 at the Chargers, 39.5. Justin Herbert got pulled from the game. I need to see a little bit more of that injury before I, dive into it further. I don't think the Chargers really, they're not even going to technically they're going to have a home game. They're not going to they are technically having a home game, but it's not really going to be a home game. 7.5. I still think Kansas City could cover this. But I'm probably going to need a little bit more time on this because you're laying 7 and a hook. And quite frankly, the Chiefs haven't looked that impressive. They've needed some referee help to kind of get them over some hurdles here. Yeah, I mean, if I had to lean aside right now, it'd be Kansas City. But, I'm going to need a little bit more time on this.
Yeah, the Chiefs and Mahomes just haven't been great covering big numbers on the road in his career. It's the obvious, like Mahomes, Andy Reid inflation tax that you pay, and it's paid the books if you do lay it. That said, I do show value slight on the chart on the Chiefs. No, Herbert's huge. I think this Chargers team actually stinks. Yes, Harbaugh is a great coach, and that's really what has them playing at a good level. But against bad competition, the Chiefs, like you said, though, haven't been great. And I just don't want. I'm not touching this game as much as I love Mahomes and co. They struggle to cover these numbers on the road, especially in division. With or without Harbert, I know Slater's out. I know Joe Alt is doubtful also. So again, another game that if I'm betting, I'm teasing the Chiefs, and that's a TBD, but that's another teaser leg because again, you're betting whenever you get the best quarterback potentially in history at under basically to win. I don't really think too much about betting that line. I kind of just bet it.
Yeah. Bills Ravens, maybe the prime game of the week. Ravens 2.5 at home, 46.5 point total. Baltimore dealing with a big injury up front. Their star, who you got? Their star center Tyler Lindenbaum didn't practice. They're got a right tackle and a left guard in Macari and Voorhees unable to practice. It's not boding well for an offense that really isn't that great with a defense that is much worse than it has been in years past. Buffalo's hot right now. They're rolling. I know this game means a lot more because of the past matchups and the playoffs with Lamar and Josh Allen. But I think this is a Josh Allen spot. And one thing I wanted to point out real quick, these next 3 games for Buffalo is going to be big for Josh Allen's MVP candidacy. You have Lamar and the Ravens. Then you have Houston and C.J. Stroud. Then you have Aaron Rodgers and the Jets. I think Buffalo is the right side here. I think Baltimore is gonna be fading a little bit down the stretch here.
Buffalo in a teaser, give me 8.5. Josh Allen to keep the game close, give me all that. I think this is also a sneaky over game too. This Bills defense has been great, not allowing big plays. Again, though, not against. The Cardinals did well against them. Jacksonville not doing great against them. You don't really, think too much of. And Miami, of course, like shutting them down is not the most impressive thing considering the state of Miami's team right now. But with that being said, I think I'm just getting a higher rated a team I have higher my power ratings at plus money. And to me, it's really not more complicated than that. Josh Allen is playing like the best quarterback on the planet right now. This Bills offense with the spread and Joe Brady is what I expected it to be, and why I still have the Bills winning the AFC East this year, because I was not deterred by their offense. And they run a great scheme on defense that helps them, utilize this lack of known name talent. Doesn't matter. They still do what they do to get things done. Ravens will have success moving the ball like teams have had on Buffalo, and vice versa. The Bills will have success moving on Baltimore, and going with the better quarterback getting points. And again, teaser getting me 8.5 points with the Buffalo Bills and Josh Allen. Please and thank you. There's a number of things we've already discussed that you could mix with for a teaser option this week.
Yeah, I'm waiting on Buffalo to kind of slow down, though. I think they've beaten up on some bad competition, so I'm not necessarily sold there. Team that they did beat up on was the Miami Dolphins, who are giving 1.5 against the Tennessee Titans, total of 36.5. As bad as the Titans are, if they roll Skylar Thompson out again, I don't think I could take them. I probably would bet the Titans on this side, getting 1.5. I probably won't play anything, but if you put a gun to my head, I would lean the Titans here if it is Skylar Thompson at quarterback for Miami.
I see value on the Titans. I'm hesitant because, not being able to scheme up offense against Mike McDonald with Skylar Thompson is going to be very different than scheming up offense against the Titans defensive coordinator at home. So I think Miami and this offense is going to show some flashes. Maybe this total's a little low. I know that the way that these teams play football now, it's tough to get to some of these totals, but we're talking 36.5 points. Will Levis, as much as he stinks, still has a rocket arm, and the Dolphins still have no defensive backs. If you do catch a 50-50 ball with Nuke or Ridley, and also we saw Miami struggle with running backs out of the backfield in the passing game with James Cook. So you have Tony Pollard and Tajay Spears. I think the Titans match up well with Miami. And again, I do think Miami's going to be able to concoct a game plan to move the ball on this Titans team like they couldn't do in Seattle. It's much different again, going from Mike McDonald to what the Titans have going on. So I lean over and I lean Titans, but haven't locked anything in yet.
Last game on the Monday night doubleheader is Seattle at Detroit, 3.5. Last year when these two teams played in Detroit, Seattle was in the Royal Mint spot. I think they covered. I'd have to go back and check. But it was a good game nonetheless. A lot of points were scored. Early lean at 3.5 would probably be Detroit. Not official yet. I think Seattle's going to be in a good spot here to move the ball and score some points. I would like to see the status of Kenny Walker first. The Detroit, though, they might be missing Frank Ragnow and Sam Laporta. So in that case, I might take a more serious look at the Seahawks at plus 3.5. But stay tuned on my dub club for that one.
Yeah, I love this game at 4.5. I got bet down to 3.5. Still like it at 3.5 for Seattle. Another situational game with the Commanders and the Cardinals where I think it's going to come into touchdown numbers more likely. But this Lions offense has really just been bad. And it's what Jared Goff has done in his career. So it's not it's really truly an anomaly or anything like that. And Seattle's missing a lot of pieces on their defensive front, which is going to be difficult for them. If these guys end up missing out, they're going to, have a very big mismatch in the trenches. But Mike McDonald is a great defensive coordinator. When he played the Lions with the Ravens last year, he absolutely put Goff in the freaking blender. And I think he has the capability of doing that again. And I think we have teams that are not separated by 3.5 points realistically. Getting 3.5 points to Seattle, then add that to the fact where, again, these are going to be coin flip type things. This number's 3.5 and not 4.5 anymore because, like I said, they think these touchdown esque numbers are going to come more into play than the traditional field goal numbers with how these teams play. We know Dan Campbell loves to go for it, and the Seattle Seahawks offense has been efficient, and this Lions defense has been bad again. So I definitely lean Seattle here.
Real quick, anytime Tutty looks, I'm going to give one out. I love Marvin Harrison plus 125. Lock that in right now. Going against the defense that gave up the most touchdowns to wide receivers last year. Jamar Chase cooked them for 2 last week, Monday night. Mike Evans cooked them for 2 in week 1. Marvin Harrison is finally getting the attention of Kyler Murray. Little Rugrats throwing him the rock. I think Marv is all systems go here in this one. Give me the touchdown at plus money.
Yeah, any wide receiver one against Washington, you could pencil in for 101. So I'm obviously have nothing to say against Marv. He's definitely probably going to score. I would look to Michael Wilson in that game too, because he just is so good. And again, the secondary for Washington is so bad that I would definitely do with them. I haven't dove into anytime tutties all too often. I mean, I'll have to do every single week, but I'm saying in terms of this week, I haven't dove into them. But looking just at the board real quick, I don't know. I like a Tony Pollard touchdown in Miami on Monday. I think that we saw Miami struggle against that, and I think this total is way too low. And we're talking about RB1. He's plus 180. So give me Tony Pollard.
Love to see it. Eric, thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget to follow my guy, Eric, at Slime Action. All his picks, he's doing some really great things. You can follow me at _JohnnyVTV. And don't forget to subscribe for my Dub Club using promo code First Month Free to get 1 free month when signing up for an annual subscription. This is the last month to do it. It expires on Sunday. Don't forget to sign up. I'm going to give you guys a new promo, though. I'm going to give everybody a little new promo. We're doing pretty well. I'm feeling a little generous here. But, Eric, thank you so much, brother. I really appreciate it. Best of luck to everybody in week 4. Don't forget to keep tabs on us because we might be putting out some other plays that we didn't talk about here. Eric, Thank you so much, my friend.
Of course. Thank you, everybody. Good luck this weekend.
Good luck. See you in week 5.